Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the 204 Ruger and 223 Remington. Now, a number of years ago I had a friend that worked at a gun store and also seemed to have the very best luck in the world when it came to hunting coyotes or deer that you could possibly imagine. Now, at that time I was torn between purchasing a 223 and a 204. Couldn't decide which one was the best for me. So I asked my friend if he could weigh in on this subject and help me out a little bit. He told me that he liked the 223 the best, and here's what he said. He said, quote, "My 223 can do anything that a 204 Ruger can do." And then he proceeded to show me many pictures of the coyotes and deer that he had taken with his 223. How could I argue against that data, I thought. Now, I did know that the 204 Ruger had some definite speed advantages over the 223 Remington. So I asked him what kind of rifle he was using for his 223. I figured he was going to tell me that it was some type of a 22-inch or 24-inch bolt-action rifle. Much to my surprise, though, he said he was using an AR-15 with only a 16-inch barrel, and that for his ammo selection he was simply using 55-grain full metal jacket for the coyotes and 55-grain jacketed soft point for the deer. I brought it to his attention the speed advantage that the 204 Ruger had, and he simply said that if he needed more speed for his AR-15, that Hornady made a pretty good Varmint Express round, which was a 40-grain VMAX, and that it was listed at 3,800 feet per second right on the box, and he figured that was fast enough and close enough to a 204 Ruger to get the job done. And again, he had a lot more experience hunting than I did, a lot more pictures to prove it, so how could I argue? Now, luckily, over the years, I was able to acquire a pretty good bolt-action 204 Ruger with a 25.5-inch barrel, and also a 223 Remington and an AR-15 platform with a 16-inch barrel. But I've always wondered about that conversation from years earlier, and I've asked myself, is one of these rifles simply not needed here? So today we're going to be speed testing and shooting two different ammo selections for each rifle. We're going to be shooting the 55-grain full metal jacket for 223, the 40-grain Hornady VMAX for 223, and then for the 204 Ruger we'll shoot the 40-grain Hornady Superformance VMAX along with the 32-grain VMAX Hornady Superformance as well in 204. Now, I did do the chronographing, but I did it on a very windy day. And I don't think too many people want to hear wind in a video if it can be avoided. So I'm going to simply bring that data right back here to the table. We'll look at the data for a minute or two, kind of figure out where we're at with it. We'll go right back out into the field, and we'll do some different shooting, probably shoot some steel spinner targets, maybe shoot some water jugs, and just kind of see what these numbers start to look like when we take them off of the paper and start to apply them. So if you like today's video, please remember to click the like button and do subscribe and turn on the notifications bell if you haven't already done so. And as always, we're looking forward to your comments. Thank you again. Alright, so here's what we found out there. On the 223 Remington 55-grain full metal jacket by American Eagle, the advertised velocity is 3,240 feet per second. My 3-shot average, which is what you can see right here, I came out at 2929 feet per second on average, which is about 9.7% less than advertised. When I moved into the 223 Remington 40-grain VMAX, those are advertised at 3,800 feet per second. I found that they were around 3,406 feet per second on average, which is about 10.3% less than advertised. On the 204 Ruger 32-grain VMAX, they are advertised at 4,225 feet per second. I did clock those on average at about 3,953 feet per second, which is about 6.4% less than advertised, but at least it's closer. And then on the 204 Ruger 40-grain VMAX, they are advertised at 3,900 feet per second. I had those coming in at 3,689 feet per second on average, which is about 5.4% less than advertised. In terms of your energy numbers, the 223 55-grain has about 1,045 feet per second. 1,045 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, 1,030 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle for your 40 grain VMAX 223, You get a little bit of a bump in energy numbers at the muzzle with 204 Ruger 32 grain. Those are up to 1110 foot-pounds of energy. And a little more bump with the 40 grain 204 Ruger at 1208. But we're going to be shooting at 100 yards today, so what will these be arriving at? At 100 yards, the 223 Remington 55 grain should arrive with about 817 foot-pounds worth of energy. 748 foot-pounds of energy when we go into the 223 Remington 40 grain VMAX. Then we'll move over to the 32 grain 204 Ruger. We're anticipating that to arrive with about 825 foot-pounds of energy. And lastly, we'll have the 204 Ruger 40 grain VMAX arriving with about 962 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards. Getting ready to shoot 223 Remington 55 grain full metal jacket by American Eagle at a distance of 100 yards. Well, thanks for your patience with the wind today. This is the steel spinner target that was just hit with a 223 Remington at 100 yard using a 55 grain full metal jacket round by American Eagle. Didn't quite go through, but certainly left quite the dimple on the back end, almost punched through. Here's how that starts off right here. So a pretty respectable crater all in all. Accuracy was certainly respectable considering the conditions out here today. Getting ready to shoot 223 Remington, 40 grain VMAX bullet, Hornady Varmint Express. Okay, walking up right now to the steel spinner target that was just hit with 223 Remington 40 grain VMAX Varmint Express, distance 100 yards. Crater is right there by my thumb. This is the 55 grain full metal jacket round that I got hit with a few minutes earlier. So this is probably not quite as deep, but certainly a very wide, respectable crater. On the back, you can see that the 55 grain nearly punched through. The 40 grain, not so much. Getting ready to shoot 204 Ruger 32 grain VMAX, Hornady Super Performance. Alright, walking up right now to the steel spinner target that was just hit with 204 Ruger 32 grain VMAX bullet at 100 yards. That is quite the crater. Here's what that bullet starts off like. And you can see how that just fits right in there. A large crater, maybe about a half an inch or so in diameter. On the back side, it didn't quite go all the way through, but I think that's because this was a VMAX bullet. I think had it been a jacketed hollow point, it may have punched right through. But I was aiming dead center, and I guess that's where we hit, so I have no complaints there. Getting ready to shoot 204 Ruger 40 grain VMAX. Okay, walking up right now to the steel spinner target that was just hit with a 40 grain VMAX Hornady Superformance 204 Ruger. Right by my thumb is where it hit. It's not quite as wide of a crater as that 32 grain, but it does have more depth to it. It may be hard to see that on camera, but when we flip it to the back side, let's see if I can get a good angle for you. This is the 40 grain dimple on the back compared to the 32 grain. This is a larger dimple for sure. It almost punched through. So luckily we did not hit the same spot. Otherwise, had we hit the same spot, I'm 99% sure that that bullet would have just punched through and not spun this at all. We'll be shooting at the water jug on the right with the 223 Remington 40 grain VMAX Hornady Varmint Express. Distance 100 yards. We'll be shooting at the water jug on the left with 204 Ruger using a 40 grain Hornady Superformance, distance 100 yards. Okay, this is the water jug that was just hit with the 223 40 grain VMAX at 100 yards. It's blowing up pretty good, there's no doubt. However, when we look at the water jug that was hit with the 40 grain 204 Ruger at that same distance, there's also no doubt that this was just simply more devastating. That's all there is to it.